Good morning to you all. My name is Vincent White. As history has shown us, the United States makes monumental mistakes that they eventually correct over time as prolonging pressure and scrutiny comes from its populace. This can be seen through examples of the 1965 Asian Immigration Act, the Emancipation Proclamation, and the desegregation of public schools after Brown versus Board of Education case. However, one massive issue that has been proven to be neglected by the federal government is the legality of marijuana. As most of you know, marijuana continues to be decriminalized in the United States as Colorado became the first state to legalize recreational usage in 2014. Regardless of that, marijuana usage and possession in any form is punishable on the federal level and is still on the federal list of Schedule I drugs, which labels it as one of the most deadly drugs for any sort of consumption. This is obviously false. So the placement on that list of marijuana needs to be changed immediately. Today, I will be talking about the process of the placement of marijuana on that list was problematic from the start and how problems are created by the government not rescheduling the placement of marijuana. So, since it's been proven that marijuana is mostly safe for consumption, how did it end up on the list in the first place? Well, according to an article written in 2015 by Amy Nordrum, titled "Why is Marijuana a Schedule I Drug?" It happened in 1970 when Congress passed the Controlled Substance Act, which was then signed by President Richard Nixon. To briefly summarize the point of the act, it placed all controlled substances in a 5-tier scheduling system in hopes to subject them all to review. Marijuana was placed at the very top of the list. And after that placement, a committee was formed with the intentions of studying marijuana and deciding where it should be permanently placed. After 2 years of research, the committee made 2 reports that stated marijuana is not as dangerous as any other severe drugs on the list, but it should not be legalized because of fears of mass consumption by the youth. With fears of more social division happening within the country and changing the placement of the drug, the place of marijuana never changed and has remained in the first tier since the list was first created. The nail in the coffin was noted at a 1974 Senate hearing led by Senator James Eastland when he stated, quote, "If cannabis epidemic continues to spread at the rate of the post-Berkeley period, we may find ourselves saddled with a large population of semi-zombies of young people acutely afflicted by amotivational syndrome." The center is not completely false, as an article posted in 2013 by Psychology Today does link long-term marijuana usage to decreased dopamine levels, which will decrease motivation and make you more prone to amotivational syndrome. However, his argument is only applicable to the possible side effects of younger people consuming it for recreation. The medicinal benefits of marijuana is one of the biggest motivations behind the push for rescheduling. According to an article created by healtheuropa.eu in 2019, medicinal marijuana can help relieve forms of cancer, aid in treating clinical depression, and help regulate seizures. And to further devalue his point, I actually have a graph to show all of you. Here it shows the deaths related to cocaine, this blue line on the bottom, and heroin up here. Cocaine being a Schedule II drug. And the biggest death toll from overdose from 1999 to 2015, this is this red line, which is opioids, which are mixed between Schedule II and Schedule III. Marijuana is this green line at the bottom from 1999 to 2015, and you can see that the death toll from overdose is virtually 0. Now, statistics clearly demonstrate that the top tier placement is absolutely ludicrous, and it becomes a conflict with the law as states recognize it not as harmful as the placement makes it seem. As of today, there are 11 states in the US that have completely legalized marijuana within its borders, and a total of 28 that eliminate the possibility of jail time for small possessions of the plant. However, if the government still has a legal stance against it, it creates a conflict in the legal system between the states and the Supreme Court. This is not the only conflict with legal marijuana as Schedule I, which leads directly to my next point, which speaks to Schedule I drug comparison. According to the DA.gov website, the other drugs listed in Schedule I are heroin, LSD, ecstasy, methaqualone, which is commonly known as Quaaludes, and peyote. The death rate for the other drugs in the first schedule is somewhat high in terms of controlled substances, so the placement of them on that top tier seems warranted. However, where this gets incredibly frustrating is when you look at the other drugs below marijuana's placement on the list. In this second schedule, there is cocaine, Oxycontin, Adderall, fentanyl, and many other drugs. As you can tell, you can already tell this is idiotic, as the government presents the notion that marijuana is more harmful than meth and cocaine. But going even further into this, drugs like oxy, fentanyl, and ketamine are massive contributors to one of the biggest problems we have seen in home soil, which is the opioid epidemic. Pharmaceuticals and prescriptions have led to an influx of addiction and deaths from opioids, yet they are placed on a much lower priority on the scheduling system. Not prioritizing the right drugs for punishment leads to the problem I foreshadowed earlier, which is indirectly contributing to an epidemic when the government refuses to reform an outdated law that the states have already started to recognize as invalid themselves. If the federal government recognizes the ability of states to change laws best suited to their own needs, it should recognize that there is clearly more important drugs to eliminate than the drug that is proven to be more helpful than not. And on that note, I'd like to wrap up my point. We need to reschedule marijuana on the federal controlled substance list. It's been legalized in various forms across the United States, and it is taking priority away from the drugs that are plaguing addicts within our country. The next time you think about the negative effects of marijuana to you personally, I'd like you to remember that there are more people dying to something a doctor prescribed to them every day than marijuana. Thank you so much for your time.